Generators are the mother lode of ES6. They are by far the most brain-bending feature, and so that's what we're going to talk about next. I'm pretty sure that as a teacher, I'm not supposed to tell you that a particular topic is hard, but I'm going to be very honest here, generators are just not the easiest thing in the world. So here's how we're going to talk about generators. Here's how we're going to kind of approach the topic. First, we're going to talk about what is a generator? What's the syntax look like? What does it do? How do we actually make use of them? We're going to kind of delay the explanation of what we're going to use them for as we get started here. We're going to be talking a lot more about the syntax and just how we'd write a generator, kind of like what it is as opposed to what it does. Next, we'll talk a little bit more about what we actually use them for. So we're going to use generators for iteration, or kind of walking through all the different properties in an array or an object, or just kind of iteration in general. After that, we're going to talk about a very particular topic called generator delegation. And this is kind of how we get generators to work with each other. And then finally, we'll talk about generators with something called symbol.iterator. And that's where things start to get really interesting, and we start to see where we would use generators in a practical environment. So again, this is kind of our table of contents. We're going to go through many sections and cover generators from many different angles. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing that I want to say about generators, I want to give you a plain English definition, as plain English as I can possibly make it. A generator is a function that can be entered and exited multiple times. Normally, when we call a function, the function will run and it returns some value, and that's it. Everything's over, right? We call the function, it runs, it returns something, and we're done. With generators, we can run some code, return a value, and then go right back into the function at the same place that we left it. So let me just pause here and say that no, that definition never, it doesn't quite make much sense to me either, just like saying it with plain words. So let's instead write some code on the screen, try to figure out what's going on. As we're writing code, I want you to not focus quite so much on where we would use this, or where we would use generators, and instead right now just kind of focus on what the syntax looks like and how a generator works. Okay, we can create a generator. Let me dial up our size here just a little bit. So we can create a generator by writing out a function with one little twist. So I'm going to write out a function, like function numbers maybe, and then we're going to add on one tiny little twist to turn this into a generator function. And by the way, keep in mind, I know that I haven't quite made it really clear about what a generator is. Trust me, we'll get to that in just a moment. So I've got my function here. I'm going to turn it into a generator by adding an asterisk right after the function keyword. So I've got function and then star. Another valid way to write a function out is to put the function keyword and then space and then star and then the name of the function. So two completely valid and different ways to create a generator. I haven't seen a very solid methodology or standard about what side the star goes on. Basically, whenever you see a star, however, you want to be thinking, okay, this has got to be a generator right here. So just by adding the star or the asterisk, we create a generator function. If we call this function immediately, so let's just say console.log, actually we don't even need to console.log, let's just call numbers, how about that? So if we call numbers by itself, you'll see that we get a result over here of an empty object. So let's actually go ahead and console log that anyways. I'm going to console log it. I'm going to open up my terminal, and you'll see that we get this numbers thing logged. And it looks like it's got some number of properties on here. So there's like something going on here. There's just something going on. Who knows what, but something. Now I'm going to throw another little twist in here. And I want to say, earlier I mentioned that whenever we're working with a generator, we can enter and exit the function multiple times, as opposed to a normal function where we kind of run it and return, and that's it, we're done. So I'm going to throw in a keyword inside the body of this function. I'm going to say yield. So yield now. And then I'm going to make one other change here. And I know this is all looking kind of opaque right now. Just bear with me for a little bit. I'm going to run const gen is numbers. And then I'm going to call a method called gen.next. And you'll notice that now I've got some like object over here that says done false. Okay, well that's kind of interesting. I'm going to call gen.next again. And now you'll notice that it flips over to done true. So All right, this is kind of weird, right? So when we entered a second next, we went from done false to done true. So at this point, I just kind of want to pause for just a moment and say, all right, it looks like something's going on here, right? We're not getting any errors, but what is the yield keyword doing here? Why am I invoking the function and then calling next on the object that gets returned? Why? Where is this all coming from? Why are we doing this? And what the heck, again, are generators really doing for us? So let's try to tackle that question. Try to answer what's going on with generators and how we actually use them. Let's tackle that in the next section. For right now, I just want to kind of have introduced a little bit of the syntax to you. So specifically using the star and this kind of yield keyword here. So again, let's continue in the next section and see if we can't kind of make any sense of what's going on here.